Problem number 8 is a basic subtraction problem, but I want to do this problem several ways for you just because the way this problem was written was not intended to be done using the standard algorithm. Again, this is a mental math problem, and the purpose of this kind of problem is to get you to actually think about the numbers and what's going on here. But I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to do this the standard way, and then I'm going to show you the way that I would do it. So standard way, you look at this 3 minus 7, and of course you can't subtract that. At least most people don't think you can subtract that, but we'll look at a way in just a moment where you can. 3 minus 7 doesn't work, so I'm supposed to borrow from that 3. It becomes a 2, and I need to put that 1 I borrowed there. So now I have 13 minus 7 is 6. And so now again, when I move over to the next spot, 2 minus 9, that doesn't work because that's too big, and so I'm supposed to borrow from the 4 and make that a 3, and the 2 becomes a 12, and 12 minus 9 is 3. So the way most of you learn to do this type of problem. And so that gives me that one, and then I have 3 minus 2 is 1, and that works. It's a good system. There's lots of crossing out and remembering to do those things, but I find a lot of students make mistakes in this particular area. So I tend to look at a problem like this in a totally different way, and I'm going to use that different way for just a moment and see if this makes any sense to you to do this. So right now what I really have is 433 minus 297, but I could have thought about this in a variety of ways. One is that 297 is very close to 300. In fact, if I just add 3 more to this number, I would have 300. And I know that 300 and another 133 gives me that number. So if I go 3 more to 300, so I'm really just going to think in terms of where I am at 297 and how to get to 433. So I'm going to turn this problem totally into a mental math problem and not use that method at all. So 297 plus 3. So if I think of where I'm at 297, and I got to go plus 3 to get to 300, and then plus 133 more to get to 433. And so what I really did was I added those two. I had 133 plus 3. 133 plus 3 is 136, which I really did all that in my head. But I was just writing out how I was thinking about it. 3 more to 300, and then 133 more to 433 gives me the 136, which is the answer to this problem. And again, I really could have done all that without writing any of this down. I would have just actually thought 297 plus 3 is 300, plus 133 more is 433, which gives me a total of 136. So that's another way to do a problem like that, seeing that that number is close to an easy number. 133 plus 3 more is 136. So that's another way to do a problem like that. Now here's one more way that you might think about. And this one's kind of crazy, but I've seen students do it, and I actually kind of like it. And so if you're struggling with the idea that you can't subtract numbers that are bigger, well, let's try that for a second. And I'm actually going to start left to right. 400 minus 200, I can do that. That's 200. Now 30 minus 90, and some people say, well, you can't do that. Well, sure you can. 30 minus 90 is negative 60. Because I have 30 here and 90 more. And then 3 minus 7 is negative 4. So now what I have is actually 200 minus 60 minus 4. And so I can continue to do those kinds of things, and that's not so hard to do mentally. 200 minus 60 is 140. So, and I just took that part, and then minus 4 more is 136. So you can see that you don't have to use this method. There's lots of other ways, and some of you are like, well, that's crazy. Why would you ever do it that way? Well, in some cases, for some people, that's an easy way to do it. And so in some ways, I did it longer than I needed to. I was just trying to make sure that I was showing all the steps that you could take to do this. I really could have put the 64 together and been right to the 136 in that one step. So again, another way to look at a problem like this as opposed to the standard method, and some of you say, well, I like the standard method, I'm going to use it. Well, that's fine as long as it works and you get the right answer. That's great. But I often see students make mistakes using this method. And so maybe it's worth your time to practice and try, maybe see if you can figure out what I did here and how I got the answer this way, or what I did here and how I got the answer this way. So you might want to go back through this and watch this again and try some of these other ways to do subtraction, especially with numbers that are close like that. Really, there's no reason to go through all of this when you could actually just count up or count down, find the difference between those two numbers.